Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, says the knowledge and experience that seasoned parliamentarians add to the day-to-day business of the House is invaluable. He therefore asked Ghanaians not to rush to vote out any member of Parliament simply because the member has served many terms.
Mr. Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu took his turn at the Meet the Press series in Accra on Wednesday and said the veteran MPs are a point of reference on many issues that are tabled before the House.
It is the duty of the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs to facilitate, coordinate, monitor and evaluate strategies to build consensus to execute government business in Parliament. In a briefing to the media on some key achievements of the ministry, Mr. Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu said his ministry has organized leadership, good governance and conflict management workshops for MPs and MMDCEs across the country. He said this forms part of efforts at deepening the country's political and administrative decentralization. Some major issues that emerged from the workshops included the need for a collaboration between the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and the National Commission for Civic Education to intensify public education on the role of MPs and MMDCEs and the need for political parties to review their policies and procedures relating to their choice of parliamentary candidates to reduce the high attrition rate of MPs.
It's not for nothing, for instance, that in Parliament, if there are issues and I want to relate to them, colleagues will listen to me in silence, just as when Babing gets up. It's not for nothing. I'm not a product of yesterday. I'm not a product of 3 days ago. Just as Babing. He's not a product of yesterday or day before yesterday. He stayed with us for quite some time. So when we need really to consult as a house the old lady, as we say in our local languages, it is Babing that we must consult. It is Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu that we must consult. It's not for nothing. So why do you want to do away with your old brains and simply resolve to introduce new hands when you know that in relative terms, apart from their own intellectual capacities, they have garnered sufficient experience and competencies to nourish our parliament and indeed our democracy.
He said the Parliamentary Affairs Ministry has also engaged the core leadership and expanded leadership of Parliament on 6 occasions. With a growing trend of monetization in the country's electoral processes, the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs also held a stakeholders meeting to discuss the matter.
These days we are talking about curbing corruption, or at least the perception of it in the system. How do we deal with it when we know that the process of electing politicians, members of parliament, to represent us is so much predicated on money tricks, and yet we pretend that nothing is happening? I submit that we can't deal with corruption if we don't confront this reality.
To promote their participation in the policy-making and implementation process, the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs has met the media and civil society organizations. They discussed the vigilantism and related offences bill and the right to information law.